Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! INDY! A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Galloway drives all the way to the hole, throws it up, got it! And Indiana's got their first lead of this contest.
I mean, that's a goddamn Emmy winner right there.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hey, everybody. Appreciate you joining us here on this Thursday, September 28th. Of course, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. And our man, Dustin Schutte, alongside, reminding me that there we go. I got half. Appreciate you joining us. Of course, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, powered by Andy Moore Honda. Bloomington's number one Honda dealer. You can get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com. Also, the Wow Food Group and their family of restaurants in and around the Bloomington area, like Southern Stone, located at Patterson and Rogers, offering Southern comfort food with the Southern charm. Lots to get to on the program today. Matt Taylor will join us of the Colts, and we will talk about Mr. Moss. Great pick. I mean, he's looking good running that ball for the Colts. The Colts are looking kind of good, as a matter of fact, with their starter down. Chris Denari also joining us. Who am I missing?
Just all of our smiling faces.
Okay. And we've got plenty to talk about. Indiana basketball. Mike Woodson on the recruiting trail, of still up to see Boogie Fland, as was Alabama, or is Alabama. And speaking of Alabama, they land Aiden Sherrill, the number 2 player in the country, a 6'10" big boy, averaged nearly 19 points a game and a little over 9 rebounds for overtime elite. That is their first commitment of 2024. They were like the Hoosiers without any. And Rob Cassidy of Rivals, of course, out with another little blurb today talking about the commitments continuing to start to fly now. And Rivals peeks ahead to a crop of players that could be among the next to decide their college future. This week, he's got 5 on it in his column. You can see it at thehoosier.com. But he talks about Liam McNeely as been in decision mode. What was the exact quote? He's got no more official visits, of course, remaining. And a lot of people are saying, well, what's with the holdup? He doesn't have to be in a rush, but I think he wants to get it done here before his season starts. So, and Rob Cassidy is along with that thinking. Not only does he say that, but he said it could come within a week. And he says he's been in decision mode for more than a week now, following the canceling of that official visit to Texas. No more official visits, like I said. And so you're down to Indiana and Kansas. And I'm sure Kansas is making it difficult for him. But Rob Cassidy does not believe that Neely is going to cast aside a years-long relationship that has been built with Mike Woodson and crew. And I agree, but you never know. And you can't blame, if he went someplace else, he's got it. He has to do what is best for him. Just like Dustin, every day has to do what's best for him. And he does. Shaves that head and gives us the glory of that. But these guys, it is a business. And speaking of that, we'll hear a clip later in regarding to football of the fans talking about the business aspect of it last night at Tom Allen's coach's show. But it is a business for them now, Dustin. They have to make a business decision. And it's always been kind of a business decision for guys like this who are very potentially going on to the next level of the NBA. The guys that are not, that's not so much a business decision for them, a little bit now with NIL, but this is because they're all going to be in high NIL in the high NIL bracket, and then they want to go to some place that they know they're going to get developed for that next level. There's your decision process.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, Kansas has a pretty good to be able to put it in the NBA. Indiana has too, but it's not. I mean, Mike Woodson's still pretty new at this at the college level, so they don't have maybe not the same reputation. But Mike Woodson did coach in the NBA. Obviously, he knows what it takes to develop and to get to that next level. So we'll see. I mean, they got Jalen Hood-Schifino, they got Trace Jackson Davis, both draft, so maybe that plays a little bit of a factor here. I don't know. It's interesting. There's a lot of different factors where kids didn't have to worry about this kind of stuff earlier, and now you've got how am I getting to the NBA? What's the NIL deal look like? I don't know if he's going to be Liam's going to be a 1 or 2 year player or whatever the case might be, but there's a lot going on, but it's interesting.
A lot of ins and outs, a lot of facets.
Yes, facets.
The dude, man. The dude. The Big Lebowski. Another movie.
You always quote that, and
you gotta watch.
I've seen it, but I don't remember it very well.
It's when he gets thrown into.
Apparently.
Let's see, where is that one? Oh, that's when Jimmy Treehorn. When Treehorn has him out there, he's like, "Dude, I understand you're in the middle." Yeah, there's a lot of ins and outs, a lot of facets. But getting back to Liam McNeely, of course, I know Indiana fans are waiting with gnashing the teeth. What is that? When you wailing and gnashing
of teeth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just waiting on
that
their
from the Bible?
Well, yes, originally. It's not a new quote. I'm not taking credit for it, by the way.
You want to take credit? I think you should.
Nah, that's from the Old Testament, by the way, as well. I believe. So a little bit before my time. But McNeely is at the top of everybody's thoughts. There's no doubt. They're waiting. Just like Alabama landed their first commitment yesterday, and I just mentioned Aiden Sherrill, number 22 player of big. He's a biggie. And then Alabama is also heavily involved in Tyler Betsy's recruitment, and so he's another big 6'8" wing. Alabama is just, you talk about turning a basketball program around, Nate Oates. But I wanted Nate Oates. He was a guy that when Indiana was looking to hire, I was like, Nate Oates, man. He was up at Buffalo, and I'm like, what the hell? Where the hell did Buffalo come from? And all of a sudden, they're ranked. But so that was, I am incorrect. I've been corrected. It is from the New Testament.
Wow. How about that?
It's the wailing and something of gnashing of teeth, but I think there's something else in there. Anyway, that'll happen if Liam McNeely announces he's going elsewhere, but still rivals, Rob Cassidy still said at the end that he thinks it's still Mike Woodson. And at the end, he says, I think. So just wait. I mean, it's going to happen when it happens. There's nothing that can be done about it either way. And if it happens in a positive way for the fans, they can celebrate. If it does not happen, then you just have to focus on everything else. They've got a lot of irons in the recruiting fire, by the way. Of course, Liam McNeely is a big iron. Iron. But he's going to be expected to replace Mackenzie Mbako. He's not expected to be here next year. So, and I think that Liam McNeely sees that, and he can slide right into that position. He knows that he more than likely would start in that slot, but I don't know what Kansas is offering. Touche. Tanis currently wearing his Lebowski robe.
Oh,
Jeffrey wore a robe all the time. One of these days, I'm gonna do the show in my robe with the clothes underneath, of course. But I don't have a
I can't
Lebowski
wait.
robe. Mine is, yeah. Well, something I thought of that I wanted to do one day when Matt was on is have John change my camera thing to just a picture of Jim Irsay. And when Matt comes on, I'm like, hey, Matt, man, welcome on. I'm so glad you could join us today. I know it's not a lot of time you get the opportunity, man, to talk to your boss, but I just wanted to join you today. I hear you do such a great job on Indiana Sports Beat, and you do such a tremendous job for the Colts, man, and we really, really appreciate you.
I think you should do it. He might leave.
Crickets?
But crickets.
What does the overall winner at the end of the college pick'em get? I'm either going to let you all decide. One thing I think is should be the grand prize is this leather Adidas. You can't see that it says Adidas right here. It says Adidas, the brand with 3 stripes. Die Weltmacht mit den 3 Steifen. La Maroc a 3 Bandes. And then that is in, I don't even know what language that is. It's a bunch of chicken French. It's a bag, man. Like a computer bag. You put stuff in it.
Okay, gotcha.
Backpack. It's like $600 all leather. It's like a $600 bag, dude.
$600? Who's paying $600 for a bag?
It's a $600 bag. That's what I'm telling you. Or we'll have hats. We'll have shirts. I've got some. Yeah. So.
I got a computer bag from Target. Seems to do just fine.
Tanis says, why does Irsay sound like Randy Poffo? You mean Randy Macho Man Savage?
Oh, yeah, that's true. He does sound like that.
Yeah. No, man. Oh, yeah. He was a little more. He's jacked up, man. We got the best, man. The cream always rises to the top, man.
I can't do him very well. He was awesome. He's my favorite. Absolute favorite. Right behind Ric Flair. Let's see. Yeah. It should Adidas, the company. I can't read that. There you go. There you go, boys. It's nice.
There's no expense. There you go.
If we may work out maybe we can work that out. A pair of basketball tickets instead.
There you go.
Yeah, I know it's his real last name. He's actually he had what was his brother? Leaping Lanny Poffo, baby. I remember Leaping Lanny. So awesome. I already said on the show today. Indiana basketball up to see Boogie Flan, by the way. Mike Woodson, along with Alabama. I mentioned that earlier. And for all those early on that talked about Mike Woodson and how he's going to have the energy and the ability to recruit, dude's at it all the time. He recruits as hard as any coach. There is no coach that is out recruiting him. Now, I'm not saying he's beating all of them. I'm talking about making the effort, going there. He's up and back up seeing Boogie Flan. They're everywhere. So it's not about him not putting the effort in. I can tell you that right now. He's there. He's not sending out assistants to do all this. He's going. He's talking. So it's kind of funny. He's like, yeah, well, we'll see about that. But we've got to take a break, I believe. Is that what you're telling me, John?
Yes.
All right, my man. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Matt Taylor joins us next when we come back.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market. Next Monday, John, what time would you like Rob Cassidy?
Man, I hate that you're doing this when I'm not going to be here. I'm sure, well, I'm sure it'll be fine for RC.
God,
but
that's
it.
The day
You've already got the one new guy on at the beginning of the show, so do Rob Cassidy at.
We don't have any.
O'clock.
What I was going to say, do we even have anything at 10?
Yeah, 10 or 10:20 is all you've got for Monday.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh my God.
Monday.
La da 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 da.
The Reds are 2 back in the loss column. Game and a half out of the wild card. Cubs play the Braves again tonight. The Marlins play the Mets tonight.
I'm done with the Reds. You cannot lose. You cannot give up a 9-0 lead in the playoff run against a crappy a team that is just.
Meet the Reds.
Meet the Deads. Meet the Deads. Meet the Deads.
Hey, at least they were in the race. They won't finish worse than 500.
Yeah, but.
The Cubs have blown 2 straight games. And they have the Reds have a day off today, it looks like. Then they. So if the Mets and Braves win, it's one game.
If the who?
Beat the Mets.
If the Mets and Cubs lose, then it's a 1 game. There's a 1 game separation between the Reds and those 2 teams.
Derek says the Cub fans are crying because Atlanta paused the game to celebrate Ronald Acuna last night. Well, don't you usually do that stuff?
Yep. First ever 70-40.
Hey, John, how much time do I have? Oh, never mind.
25 seconds.
What'd you say, Dustin?
You
got to be quick.
He was the first 70-40.
All right. Here we go, folks.
Anytime or call 812-824-4040. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by the Chop Shop, home of the Indiana football and men's basketball coaches shows. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday from high atop the Golf Club at the Eagle Point Studios. Appreciate you joining us and being with us. Dustin Schutte with me as always on this day. Appreciate him as always. The Deads, man, you cannot lose a 9-0 lead to a team that you just can't do that. I mean, what in the world does that do to the psyche when you're in like a closet of the playoff? The playoffs are now playoffs. They're now into the run. It's now in the closet. You know, you've got no margin, no room to move, and you give up a 9-0 lead. Matt Taylor would never give up a 9-0 lead. I'm telling you.
Au contraire, mon frère. What's
Matt,
up?
man, it's so good to have you join us here today, man. I know
All right,
you
take
don't
it
always
easy.
get enough.
Take it
I
easy.
know you don't often get enough chance to talk to your boss, man, but I just wanted to tell you, you do an awesome job, and I'm so grateful to have you, man.
What's up, man? I never know the context in which I'm stepping into here.
I
Keep
would
me
never
up.
do anything to get you in trouble. I promise you that. Never ever. I have too much respect for you, brother, and I know how that goes. So I'm never going to do anything that will get your hand slapped. I promise.
I appreciate that. What's going on?
We're just talking. Actually, how about Mr. Moss, man? Dude is doing a yeoman's job and working hard, and then the Colts go into Baltimore and win. That's a hard thing to accomplish anytime, much less when you're in between having your starter on the bench and your backup, although maybe the best backup in the NFL, but your backup quarterback is stepping in, amongst other things. And you go into Baltimore and you beat Lamar and the boys. Huge.
Yeah, that was fun, man. You talk about Zach Moss. He's really steadied the ship, and I mean, it's in the backdrop right now of the Jonathan Taylor stuff, which is going off the field. Zach Moss is on the field though, and that's what's exciting. I mean, if you look at it, if you go back to last year, right, since he took over as the Colts, whatever you want to say, the primary running back in Week 15 of last season when Jonathan Taylor goes on injured reserve to end the season. Since then, Zach Moss ranks 4th in the NFL in rushing. He ranks 4th in the NFL in rushing and yards per carry, almost 5 yards a carry, and he's got 15 runs over 10 yards, which is 4th in the NFL in that regard as well. So I mean, he's one of the best backs in a small sample size from the end of last year and then the start of this year. And he has accomplished all of those things while missing a game, right? Remember, he didn't play in Week 1 when he was still, coming back and rehabbing off after that broken forearm that he suffered during training camp. So this has turned out to be a win-win situation with Zach Moss and what's going on with Jonathan Taylor off the field and the trade for Nyheim Hines in the middle of last year. It's really, really encouraging to see the Colts running game give the offense what it needs from that aspect of the offense with Zach Moss to keep teams at bay, respect the passing game, stay on schedule in terms of down and distance. It's been really exciting to see Zach Moss have a tremendous amount of success, no matter the quarterback that he's out there with, right? Whether that's Anthony Richardson or Gardner Minshew, the offense in the running game is going to look a little bit different. Certainly, depending on which of those two guys is out there. We think it's going to be Anthony Richardson again this week. He's continuing to progress and, clear some hurdles in the concussion protocol. Still not out of it just yet, but trending in the right direction, as they say, towards being able to play on Sunday. But yeah, Zach Moss has been a very much a star, a bright aspect of this offense through 3 games, and a big reason why the Colts are 2-1 and on a 2-game winning streak.
I think what's always fun in this regard, and you obviously don't want to see your franchise quarterback go down, but I think it was Week 1 where Anthony Richardson would come. Gardner Minshew was kind of tutoring him and going through some of the plays, some of the mistakes that he made on the sideline. And it's just, I always like these kind of stories when a guy can come in, he stays engaged. He didn't pout when Shane Steichen named Anthony Richardson the starter, and he comes in and he got the Colts a huge win over the weekend. And then the post-game stuff, which I know you saw, Matt, I've never seen a guy to get a win. I love that story. I think Gardner Minshew is an incredible professional, and the way he's kind of gone about it, it was really not just because the Colts got a win and got to 2-1, but because of his story and the way he's conducted himself with the Colts organization here these past couple months. I think that was really cool.
I think
that wasn't that his first start.
It was his first start with the Colts. No. He's had plenty of starts.
Like 25 starts or something. My bad.
Yeah, that was his 25th start. He played all of those games. I think he started 12 games as a rookie in Jacksonville. And then, has certainly had some spot starts here and there. He had 4 starts combined the last 2 years in Philadelphia, filling in for Jalen Hurts. But I think, Dustin, you're exactly right. I think the key word that you used right there is professional. He just keeps things simple. He keeps things into their separate compartments, I'm here to just play football. I'm here to be a quarterback. And if I'm the starting quarterback, I'll prepare like the starting quarterback. If I'm here to mentor Anthony Richardson, I'll do that as well while simultaneously being ready to be the starting quarterback. And it's just amazing to me how he can come in off the bench cold 2 weeks ago in Houston in the second quarter. No reps at all with the first team offense for the last couple of weeks. Certainly no first team reps with the first team offense that week of practice going into the Texans game. And he comes into the second quarter, leads 3 straight scoring drives, completes 83% of his passes, and the Colts win by 2 scores. I mean, I know it's the Texans, right? And they're kind of in a different lot right now than the Colts, but it's still an NFL team on the road. I mean, that's impressive as all get out. And what he did on Sunday reminded me a lot. I mean, to me, it was just a classic Gardner Minshew game. He doesn't overcomplicate the game. And that's just his life in general. Like, he is a guy that is so comfortable in his own skin. He knows who he is. He knows who he isn't. He's real. He's genuine. There's not a fake bone in his body. And I think that's why guys gravitate to him, so much inside that locker room, because they understand just how genuine of a person he is and what kind of a big leader that he is. It's just really, really fascinating to me to watch Gardner Minshew operate, because he basically, for lack of a better term, and I hate to say this, so maybe I can't say this, but he doesn't operate in the BS. He doesn't operate in BS, right? He keeps things simple. He doesn't overcomplicate the game. That game reminded me of him in a Jacksonville Jaguar uniform against the Colts, week 16 or 17, I think it was, the last game of the season in 2019, where he's just going out there, not overcomplicating the game, taking what the Colts defense is giving him, and he's just methodically moving the ball down the field and is not worrying about his stats or the day that he's having. He's just moving the ball. That's what he's tasked with, and that's what that game on Sunday reminded me of, where obviously the Colts didn't put up a ton of points, right? They only scored 22. They had 5 field goals, but he gave the Colts an opportunity to win that football game by making good decisions, completing high percentage of his throws. The completion percentage was great, but more importantly, he didn't make bad decisions. He didn't turn the football over. The Colts in their last 2 games with Gardner Minshew primarily as their quarterback, they have no turnovers and they're +3 in the turnover margin. And he's not throwing interceptions. He's keeping his team alive. And he took a lot of hits. There's no doubt about that, with the Ravens sending a lot of people off the edge and getting after him a little bit. But he hung on to the football, and he's just a cool customer. And I just really appreciate that about Gardner Minshew. And Jim, I think you're right. He's maybe one of the best backup quarterbacks in the NFL, but I think he's better than that. I think he's just one of the best quarterbacks in the league in general. And the Colts are lucky to have 2 guys that they can throw out there and be confident in both of them to be able to win football games. And that's why the Colts prioritize Gardner Minshew really, really heavily and quickly in free agency, bringing him over at the beginning of free agency to either start or be a mentor for whomever they brought in at quarterback in the draft. In this case, it's Anthony Richardson, and he's just been the consummate pro ever since he's been here.
Yeah, and that is a luxury. Most teams just don't have that. It's a luxury to have such a dynamic quarterback like Anthony Richardson, and to have a backup like Gardner Minshew, not just for his performance, but because he's not like he's been in the league for 15 years, but he's been in long enough. He knows the ways. He's seen it. He doesn't know everything, but he knows enough to tutor the guy. And I know everybody's telling him, the first thing they're telling him is slide. So, and I get it. He's a competitor. He wanted to get into the end zone. You think of, was it John Elway that flipped into the end zone in one of those games, way back in the day? But that's just competitive nature. But he also has to learn how important he is to the team, and he has to take care of himself. And I know that they're getting that point across to him, and I know he knows that. It's not that he doesn't know it. It's just finding the ability to make those decisions while that competitive drive is pushing you forward.
Right. And it's so hard to do that because everybody's wired to be the best and to make a play and to get a first down or get in the end zone. That's why it was so frustrating to hear, maybe backlash is not the right word, but certainly some criticism on Anthony Richardson on taking a hit on a play that he scored a touchdown on. Like he's a yard away from the end zone, and maybe he doesn't necessarily see, out of the corner of his eye, MJ Stewart for the Houston Texans barreling down on him, that safety, even I think that's the biggest difference too, a little bit of a tangent, but going from the SEC, even the SEC to the NFL, some of these safeties that you can maybe run over in college football, these guys pack a punch. And I don't think he necessarily saw him 100% coming out of the corner of his eye. And that's why he kind of took maybe a heftier hit than what he was anticipating. But Anthony Richardson is a yard away. I know it's the first quarter, but he's a yard away from the goal line. Score the ball. That's exactly what he did. That's exactly what you drafted Anthony Richardson for, to make plays just like that. So he's going to have to definitely kind of pick and choose his moments. I think for the most part, he's already been smart about that. We saw that during preseason games. We saw that during training camp. I think he knows what he's supposed to be doing and when the right times are to make a play and lower your shoulder, right? When the game's on the line, if it's a got to have it down, or you got to get a first down, or you got to get a touchdown, then Anthony Richardson's going to play football. But I just don't think he saw that guy coming out of the corner of his eyes as quickly as he showed up in his peripheral. Otherwise, he would have either gone down or maybe made a move at the goal line. Certainly he wouldn't have taken that big of a shot. But I think Anthony Richardson knows what's going on. And I think going forward, you're going to see him use good judgment in the running game. But you can't take that part of the game away from him, because that's what makes him special. And again, quite frankly, that's why the Colts drafted him, to put stress on defenses that they haven't been able to do in the past at the quarterback position.
And now you got the Colts coming up, Matt, on a pivotal, I hate to say it when you're through weeks through 6, but I'm going to call it a pivotal stretch here, because you've got the Rams coming to town, and then you've got 2 division games against Tennessee and Jacksonville. And certainly they're not probably looking ahead past this Sunday's game against Los Angeles, but there's probably a sense of urgency there where, they know they've got to play well over these next 3 games if they want to be kind of in that playoff race. And maybe I'm putting the horse before the cart there. But it feels like they could use some of that momentum. And I think no matter what sport it is, you got to have a little bit of luck. And it makes me wonder if maybe the Colts got away with a little bit of a beneficial call there at the end of near the end of overtime there. The ball maybe starts to bounce their way a little bit. I feel like they can carry some of that momentum. What's kind of like the team mindset right now coming up to these next 3 games with 2 of those being against division opponents?
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that's something that I'm really eager to see. There's different layers to this marathon that is an NFL season. And I think the chapter this week that I'm excited to see is, how do the Colts now handle success? Because you're right. They did win a game on Sunday in Baltimore that in years past, they don't win that game, right? The Colts last year lost 6 games by 1 score, and they lost a bunch of close games in the fourth quarter. They lost some games in overtime. The Colts, it was refreshing to see them step up and make more plays, have their best players play better than the Ravens' best players in crunch time. So that was really, really fun to see. Kind of maybe a monkey off their back, so to speak, and kind of turning the page and turning the chapter to 2023 compared to 2022. So all of those things are positive. But now, as you said, you're on a 2-game winning streak, and it's crazy to me to think that the Colts, I think this is right. I think the Colts are in first place all alone in the AFC South for the first time in 4 years. The last time the Colts were in first place in the division with no ties was 2019. So everybody's talking about you in a good way because you beat a marquee team, a team that was undefeated on their home turf. Kind of maybe you sent a statement, with a complete complimentary football game. Everybody on the roster contributed. You had your backup quarterback in there. You're feeling great about yourself. And you had 2 games on the road. Now you come back home to Lucas Oil Stadium. You look at, things going forward. The team's not doing this, but certainly we can talk about these things, right? You look at the month of October here. It's very Lucas Oil friendly. A lot of home games coming up. You got the Titans in a couple of days after this game in week number 5. And you look around the division a little bit and you're thinking to yourself, all right, well, maybe the Jaguars are a team, that's reading their press clippings a little bit. I certainly think they're going to rebound. I think they're going to be a very, very good team. But right now, they're stubbing their toe against the Houston Texans, and now they're going across the pond for 2 weeks to play back-to-back games in London. So you have to wonder, what's in store for them. The Tennessee Titans look like a mess right now. I mean, they got obliterated by the Browns. I think they were under 100 yards of total offense for the first time since 2006. Derrick Henry is running for like 20 yards. So things are shaping up on paper to be advantageous for the Colts. But what does a young team do when you have success? How do you handle success? And that's what the Colts are dealing with right now, because everybody at the water cooler in town is talking about, hey, did you see that overtime game by the Colts? What a great, gritty, resilient effort by our hometown NFL team. Everybody's talking about them. Everybody's patting them on the back. Now you're trying to come home, avoid a letdown. It's a very winnable game against the Rams, not taking anything away from LA. But this is a team that's the shell of itself, if you will, from a personnel standpoint. 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl, are they an NFL team? Yes, absolutely. Are they good enough to beat the Colts? Yes, absolutely. This is any given Sunday, dude. That's how this league works. But it's an opportunity for the Colts to win another game, get it done at home. And not a lot of people saw this team 3-1 at the beginning of the season based on some of the national projections for this team, during the summer and, certainly around draft time when they bring in a rookie quarterback.
Matt, what makes you think that they're not sitting around the water cooler talking about Indiana's unbelievable, scintillating?
Well, they're doing that too.
Four overtime win over Akron.
It's a long water cooler conversation, a lot to get into, so they can talk about multiple overtime victories between Indiana and the Colts over the weekend.
Boy, brother, I appreciate you so much, and I hope you have a great weekend. And I love. I can root for the Colts. I'm not getting to cover them so as much as I'd like, so I can root for them. Go win Colts.
Hey, the bandwagon's open for you, brother.
Hey, I'm never off of it, brother.
More the merrier.
I'm never off of it. I just got to be silent about it.
Good deal. I like it.
Looking forward. You have a great weekend, brother. Appreciate you.
You too. You guys too. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you, brother. Matt Taylor, the voice of the Indianapolis Colts, who are leading their division. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Looking forward to all of it. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy, what?
Oh, boy, oy, oy.
Oh, boy.
That's a beautiful day.
What a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. What movie is that from? You guys don't know.
I'm gonna guess it's a Christmas movie.
Oh,
Nope.
No.
Nope.
What is it from?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, where the winds come sweeping down the plain.
Sweeping down the plain.
I like the who's the hot, well, I shouldn't say that. Who is the well, it's not true. My God. Is everything
Who's the attractive woman?
I'm not even gonna say anything. The very good blonde singer that's one of the top country music singers in that there
Carrie
is.
Underwood.
Yes, thank you very much. That song Tornado or whatever.
That's
yeah.
Little Big Town. Or you're thinking of Blown Away.
Yes,
kind of similar.
That's the
There's
song.
a song called Tornado that's also by a country group. That's Little Big Town.
There's also a song called Little Dot Bar in Dahlonega by Ashley McBride.
There's also a song called I Push My Fingers Into My Eyes.
I don't think that's a country song.
It's not.
No.
I just wanted to take a left turn.
That ain't a left turn. That's a
Comment section. If you know what I just did, tell me what song that is. Some of you probably know what it is.
We do.
I know
People
Dustin's
know that
not gonna
song.
know what it is.
Lions and the
Surely
Packers
do know.
tonight.
No, I bet.
Oh,
I
that's
guarantee
right.
at least one person knows the beginning of what
All right.
song I just did.
I can't wait. Carnival
What
Day
the hell is
3.
blinking behind me?
Fire alarm.
There, Tanis
Smoke
Half Elven
detector.
got it immediately. Slipknot. He got it immediately. Good
No.
job, Tanis.
It's this. It's
Wow.
There's a line above me.
Told you people would know it.
You were right. How about you, John? Look at you.
All right, here we go, guys.
Oh boy.
Catering starts with Garnish
Oh,
Catering,
bye.
serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas. Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of Wow Food Group. This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday, September 28th. Thanks a lot. No matter how you're finding us, whether you're on radio, on our good friends down in Evansville on 97.7, the Ref ESPN up in Hammond and Chicago, the voice of the region, 12:30 a.m., 104.7 FM, WJOB. Appreciate all of you guys up there where they carry the IU games. And a crossover in Fort Wayne on Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan, where Brett Rump coming up next. Right after Indiana Sports Beat Radio, so stay tuned there. Appreciate you. Last night at Tom Allen's Inside Indiana Football with Tom Allen, I was there, and at the end, they'll have some questions. They'll take them from YouTube or wherever, and then they'll give a person in the audience or two an opportunity to ask a question. And last night, a fan did not ask a question, was very complimentary, is someone who is a long time follower, someone who attends the coaches' shows on a regular basis, and made a statement that is let's just call it the statement heard around Indiana, because it's gone viral. My man Mason Williams from the Hoosier.com sent it out last night pretty much immediately, and I'm just curious as to how many likes that thing has gotten already.
It's got 467 likes and 141 retweets. Several comments as well.
That's 140 something retweets. That's massive. But it was about the play calling. It was a direct question that I would have liked to ask. It was a statement. Yes, it wasn't even a question. You're right. I apologize. It was a statement. But it's a question that I haven't been able to get to the Monday press conferences because they've changed the time and it's earlier, so I can't make it. And now I can't ask that question today on the Zoom with Tom because or someone's going to bring it up, I would assume. If they don't, I will. Because it's something that has to be addressed. And you can't just ignore it. You can't sweep it under the rug. It's there. Dustin, we had a little conversation earlier. What was the difference of opinion you had?
Well, are we going to listen to the clip first, and then I can get into my opinion?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and run this. You'll hear everything. So here was the statement by the fan at Chop Shop last night.
Sir, Okay, my name is Harold Simpson. I'm from Bloomington, Indiana, and Coach knows I've been to shows over and over again. Coach also knows that I've not been up here ever asking a question.
So are you nervous or what?
I'm nervous. I don't like being here at all because I coached football for 10 years and played 7 years of semi-pro football and, of course, did my high school career. So
We got a background.
I don't like being up here, but my section, all right, is extremely unhappy. And since I'm the biggest yeller in the stadium, okay, screamer, they are unhappy with the play calling, Coach. All right. And I'm going to tell you, to a man, they love you. All right. So my statement is, it's a business. And and you understand what I'm saying, okay? Because you're the coach and we love you. All right. But it's a business. So we wanted to make that statement clear. Thank you.
I need something that I could pretend. Let's pretend this is a microphone.
Mic drop.
It's like he just dropped the mic. Mic drop. See, that's the great thing. If one of us says something like that, there are good chances of retribution. And that's why it's a fine line. And I know that people say, well, why don't you ask this? Trust me, I don't think there's anybody that pushes it any further than I do. I mean, I don't mind asking the hard questions. I waited for 2 years to get to Archie. And it got the same BS answer. But anyway, it's more than a business. It's a business, but it's also a brand. It's also your school. Colorado right now. Okay. I don't care that they got blown out last week. It was right there with the most watched game in the country, and it was a shellacking. There has never been a game in college football history that was a 40-0 game that had 10 million people watching it. I can guarantee you that. Nobody, I mean, that's going to drop off. I mean, that was terrible. But how much advertising is Colorado getting? If you had to quantify the advertising dollars, it is so far into the millions, it's crazy. How much is that affecting their admission rates? I promise you, it is a positive impact. The impact on the town, I think that was like an $18 million impact for one game. The impact is massive. There is no impact in Indiana. None. Right. And I don't want to be negative. That's not my goal. I want it to be great, but it's not. Nothing is going to change with this team if nothing changes on the team. You can beat your head against the wall all you want and expect a different result. I don't see it. I don't see the ability to beat teams with the coaching that is going on right now. I see too many opportunities go ahead.
I think so. We talked, and I'll kind of get into this a little bit, but I think that there's still, even though Indiana played terribly against and almost lost to one of the out there.
Should have lost.
Illinois is not a good football team. Purdue's not a good football team. Michigan State's not a good football team. Rutgers is okay. There are a lot of wins that they can rack up, and they could still get to a bowl game. I mean, they've got to get a lot better.
They could barely beat Akron. Even though those teams that you said are bad. Maybe Indiana's worse, but not because of the talent. It's not because, and I do not believe it's the talent. I think that they are a talented team. I'm telling you, I like the pieces they have. They have enough pieces to beat the teams you talked about.
They do.
Now, yes,
They're
if they are coached,
pieces.
if they're led.
Their pieces top to bottom, great. Like they have pieces, but they're missing a lot.
Yes,
and so
they're not a top 25 team. I'm not saying that.
No. Okay. I think that I still think that they can win some games. There's been teams, I mean, you go back and you look at, I don't remember what year it was, 2016. I think that lost to North Dakota State, still won 8 games. There are teams that lose games sometimes, or last year or 2 years ago, Minnesota was an 8 or 9 win team. They got beat by a bad Bowling Green team. These things happen throughout the course of the season. I don't know where the focus was. I don't know what the case. So I'm not quite ready to write off Indiana just yet. But they do have to get a lot better off. Defense is going to get. And I think the reason I say that, Jim, is because go back to the Louisville game. They didn't give up a single point in the second half. They were down 21-0. They could have mailed it in. They came back and they had a chance to tie that game. And I know people are going to complain about the play call in that game at the end on that 4th and goal, trying to run it up the middle, come up short. They played rich Ohio State, a team that just beat Notre Dame on the road. They played really well. Their offense
caught Ohio
stinks.
State lucky. They caught them early. Ohio State was rusty. You had a really rusty Kyle McCord, so they caught them lucky at the right time and played well enough. Ironically, with 2 quarterbacks to hang in there, but they never tried. It looked like they were never trying to win because the play calling was so ungodly conservative. It was crazy. It was not, and like, dude, just try. Who cares? What can you?
I like the strategy. Well, you could get beat 70-0, and then all of a sudden you have a repeat of 2021.
But how are you going to get beat 70-0 by calling better plays?
If they can't operate those clear plays. Look. Okay, I'm not out here to bash players, but the fact on that, I don't remember which 2-point conversion play it was, but when you have Jalen Lucas wide open, I don't see things on my TV screen. I was like, hit him in the flat, hit him in the flat, hit him in the flat, hit him in the flat.
Everybody, I was yelling.
That is an indication to him cannot do what they need him to do out of the playbook. And I don't know whether that means they need to make a quarterback change, but when you miss a guy that's that wide open, when everybody in the stadium, everybody on the field can see it, that's more to me like he may not be ready for this moment. I hate to say that. I hate to say that about it because it's not. I don't like to bash them. Yeah, but when you have that, that's what makes me think that Walt Bell is restricted in his play calling. Now, again, maybe that means they need to start Brendan Sorsby. I don't know what the situation is, but if you have a guy that can't make that throw,
I thought it was going to be Sorsby the whole time, and I based that on everything that I was hearing and told that was coming out of the team. The team,
yeah.
I can't say the team. That's not fair, but I think that a majority of the team thought Sorsby was the quarterback. And for the coaching staff, it had to be Taven Jackson. It had to be the brother of Trace Jackson Davis. It had to be the guy that transferred from Tennessee. It just had to be.
I think sometimes to your point, I think a lot of times, well, I shouldn't say a lot of times. I do think coaches get blinded by that sometimes. In like the situation where
now, see, this is the problem where I say is a really problem for Tom. He makes too many decisions that are not based on exactly what Harold Simpson said. The business side of this game. Retaining Darren Hiller for 2 years longer than he showed that he was just killing Indiana. Wouldn't get rid of him. Hiring 3 out of his 4 offensive coordinators that are just not good.
Correct.
Mike DeBoer was not good. Had to be replaced. Kalen DeBoer was great couldn't hold on to him. Should have been made the head coach. I'll tell you right now. Indiana would never have that boldness, but if they can, you imagine Kalen DeBoer as the head coach and Tom Allen as the defensive coordinator?
That would be a great 1-2 combo, but I can tell you he would have left by now.
Where's he going to go? Where's he going to go? What other head coaching job is he going to get?
He would have gotten something. He would have been offered if he
something like what? A defensive coordinator position? We got a break. No, what we got to get to the next hour. Make sure if our Fort Wayne listeners up next is Brett Rump. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Dustin Schutte joining me, Chris Denari later. We're talking IU and football and basketball right now. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
So here's the thing, though. I don't disagree with this fan's point, but what do you want him to do mid-season? Let him go? Who's going to run the offense?
They're screwed. I can say that over and over. And not only that, they're screwed next year because you can't fire him after the season. Who in the hell is going to come in? Because Tom Allen.
How did they respond? Or how did he respond to that question? Because I know that's not in the post, but
I think he laughed.
He just laughed and they moved forward, I guess.
I think he just acknowledged it, and I don't recall it. I'll have to go back and watch it.
Dum. Oh, I know what we were talking about in the pre-show was the contract and why you think it's ridiculous that they have such a large buyout for Tom Allen. We can get into that if you want.
Talk about why that person should be fired, or I can't remember what Jim said, but something like that. Or should have to pay for it or something.
Yeah. I mean, is it fair to say that our problem, I mean, I know that this is all tied together, but the bigger problem is not that Indiana beat Akron by 2, but the fact that you had people that were able to walk from one side of the stadium to the other because there's nobody else at the game.
What do you mean walk from one side of the stadium to the other?
The fans, when they were walking from one side of the field to the other in the bleachers.
Oh.
Because there's nobody else there to block them. That's bigger.
I believe that the students moved down to the end zone, I believe. Whatever students were left.
That's what happened. And that's also why, by the way,
all those seats right there, those are like giveaway seats. That's where the athletic director's office is, where Tom Allen's office is, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Which is dumb. They should be filled with people that yell when a team is down there. But
all right, here we go, guys. Scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Rabesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details. This segment is brought to you by Hank's Pizza Mac. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Appreciate you being with us. Dustin Schutte with me as always. Chris Denari will be joining us. What What did you say we were talking about?
So in the pre-show, we got into, well, we didn't quite get into it because we wanted to save it for the show, but we talked about Tom Allen's, not to bring that topic up after 4 games, but it seems like you had a problem with it being such a large number.
What being a large number?
His buyout, his contract.
Well, first of all, it should never be that. That's utterly ridiculous. Any contract, and I don't care who it is, every contract, when you're talking this kind of money, stupid money like Michigan State, just ridiculous.
Yeah.
1 year and you give them a $95 million contract. Are you out of your mind? Anyway, if you want to do that, fine. But included in that, and especially at Indiana, who has spent millions upon millions of dollars on bad hires and buyouts, they want to talk about money issues. That's money. That's a money issue right there. Millions of dollars. God, I hate to think about it. I hate to think about that. Archie Miller is set for life because he came to Indiana and was a crappy coach. Horrible. Was not a good person. Was not a good leader. Was horrible. $26 million he has in the bank because of that. That makes you angry. But in every contract, there should be caveats and clauses that you must win.
Yeah.
If you don't win, then guess what? Here is our out. In this day and age of the transfer portal, I'm saying for a football team, 3 years to see improvement. Nope, to see improvement. Over those first 3 years.
Oh, to see improvement. Okay.
It's got to be an incline. You have to average.
Well,
you just have to be better the next year than you were this year, unless you go 10-0. That's not. If you went 10-0, no. We'll put a cap at like 7 wins, 6 wins. You got to get to a bowl game. If you're not getting to a bowl game, what are we doing here? But that has to be in there. If it's not, why are you giving all these millions of dollars without any kind of protection of having a winner?
So
somebody just has to start doing that.
That's never going to happen, and the reason being, now for Indiana,
it happened at Iowa for the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, but that was points per game, and that's because they were terrible for a long time. Coaches will not agree to that.
Indiana's been terrible for decades.
I mean, that's a fair point. Really, the entire existence of the football program. They won't do that because of the schedule. You never know who's going to be good, and especially in the Big Ten when you play 9 conference games. Now, I don't disagree with your point. I don't disagree with you. You're talking about this kind of money. There should be some sort of like performance plan in place. And I don't know whether you put that on win totals because improvement can be objective. I thought when Indiana was 5-7 the first 2 years under Tom Allen, I still thought they were very competitive and heading in the right direction. And then obviously 2019, 2020 happened when they were 8-5 and then whatever their record was in 2020, 6-2. But here's the thing, and this is where I would argue that Indiana made the right decision and look, hindsight's 2020 in paying Tom Allen, because even in those 5-7 seasons, they were very competitive. They got to 8-5. They were a win away from getting to the Big Ten championship in 2020. What happened?
You have to look at the situation as well. COVID played a gigantic role in that, and Kalen DeBoer effect.
Right. So I don't disagree with you, but 2019 was the only year Kalen DeBoer was here. And then in 2020, we all thought Indiana was a good football team.
That was a
We
COVID
all
year,
thought
right?
that. It was the COVID year, but nobody was thinking about that at the time.
Right.
Looking back,
Right.
yeah, there's nobody in the stands that probably paid a big. If Tom Allen had been offered another job and he walked away, people would be complaining that Indiana wasn't invested in the football program, didn't care, let one of the better head coaches that A, wanted to be there, and B, that was winning, they just let him walk out the front door. So it's really a no-win situation for Indiana. I mean, other than if Tom Allen kept winning. So
he wasn't going anywhere.
he might have. I don't remember the jobs that were open at the time. But his name was being circulated with potential openings. I think Ole Miss was one of them. Now, I mean, obviously they got Lane Kiffin, but there were other jobs that were
only by the media because it was the flash in the pan, and it was he deserved what he got that year. They did what other teams weren't able to do for whatever reason, and you give them that. But Kalen DeBoer, Kane Womack. What has happened since those two guys have left?
I completely agree with you. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying Indiana's in a no-win position because if they give him a big contract, which they did, and it doesn't, Indiana's stupid and they pay him a ton of money and the program is not in good shape. I
just don't understand how you get yourself in a position for that. That's just, I don't understand.
What other option did they have?
Not for that long. Nobody. Okay. Indiana's in the position they're in because they keep doing the same things over and over. I don't know who writes the contracts, first of all.
People that are smarter than you and I.
Well, there's no doubt about that, but I don't know about that. It's whoever's approving them, but who actually writes these contracts? I know that there's an agent saying, hey, this is what we want, what Tom wants, and I get it. His job is to get whatever he could get. I don't blame Tom Allen. Hell, he's doing get what you can get, man.
No, but I don't blame Indiana. I don't blame Indiana in this because, again, what has been one of the biggest gripes?
It's a long pattern of making bad hires.
I understand. Nobody thought
bad contracts.
You can. I think Tom Allen was the safe hire. I don't know that he was the best hire at the time. But again, those 4 years,
he wasn't even the safe hire.
Yes, he was. He wasn't going to do anything that got the program in trouble.
No,
he wasn't going to do anything that got the program in trouble.
Well, I agree.
That was what Indiana was looking for.
But why not bring in a head coach, someone who had been a head coach?
Because all they were trying to do was, at the time, was damage control.
You know what his salary was as the head coach at Indiana?
Yes. And so that's
$1.8 million. He was the only P5 coach that I'm aware of making under $2 million at that time. It was a ridiculous contract. I'll give you that. That one.
This is what I don't know that Michigan State is going to do this, but they should. That is what, when you have some controversy, get into the Kevin Wilson stuff because I don't know. I don't know what's true, what's false. I don't care. Yeah. But that's what Indiana was doing. They were like, we need somebody who's going to lead this program, who won't get us in trouble, who won't have any issues. And I guarantee the thought was he'll be here for 3 years, and if he wins, great, we got him at a discount. If he doesn't, we're going to move on. We didn't have long-term plans for him anyway. I guarantee that was the thought. I don't blame Indiana in this situation because, again, hindsight's 20/20. If you could have foresaw what was going to happen with Tom Allen in Indiana, then you probably aren't going to sign with that massive contract. But continually, people complain and gripe that Indiana does not make an investment in football, and they did. They had a coach who, again, for 2 years, his first 2 years, they were in bowl contention to the final game of the season against Purdue. The bucket game meant something for 2 years. Then you go and you have a big year in 2019. You go 8-5. Probably could have won 9 or 10 games that season. I don't remember exactly how that turned out. They definitely should have won the bowl game. 2020, You have an unbelievable season. You were down big to Ohio State. You come back. You have a chance to win that game. You were
Should have won that
were
game.
one. Yep, you were a Big Ten conference decision or a loss away from playing in the Big
Pick
Ten
six.
championship game,
A pick
and
six
maybe
away.
going to pick 6 away. Maybe even going to the college football playoff.
If the playoffs had been playoffs, if the playoff had been 12 games, then Indiana was in for sure. Can you imagine that? Indiana would have made the freaking college football playoffs. Wow!
So it
would have been stunning.
When you look at all of that, I don't blame Indiana because again, everybody's complained about not making the investment. Now you have a guy who, at the time, looked like this program was heading to new heights. He won, which, when's the last, Bill Mallory? When's the last time Indiana had a coach that was like, I want to be at Indiana? Kevin Wilson didn't want to be at Indiana. You can't convince me he wanted to be at Indiana.
Hey, but you know what? Right now, in the transfer portal era, I'm telling you, Tom's done a great job recruiting. Out of the portal, his mistakes have been with the coaching, and that has cost him players. There's a reason Michael Penix is going to win the Heisman, as I predicted first before did you see the athletic straw poll that came out? The leader right now, Michael Penix Jr., congratulations to him. But I think he's going to win the Heisman. He's out at Washington with Kalen DeBoer, just slinging it and having a blast and looking like a Heisman Trophy winner. He left. How many quarterbacks have left Indiana in the last couple of years? 4? You had 2 leave last year. Grant Graham also left. There's 4. I mean,
Tuttle.
Tuttle is the backup quarterback at Michigan. He's going to possibly play in the national championship game. He's the number 2 guy at Michigan. Yeah,
but he's not good.
Deshaun McCullough is. I've heard his name on some plays in the Oklahoma game. They had
but that's
the talent.
See, that part is not Tom Allen's fault. That is a victim of
part of it's NIL.
No, that's not part of it. That was the majority of it.
And that's Indiana committing to basketball more than football, which
correct.
Everyone says, well, you know, it doesn't matter. You have to commit. And I think you have to do it now because you're coming into a new Big Ten, man, that's bringing 4 programs that are all solid and winning and will go to bowl games this year. All 4 of those teams, save UCLA, have to watch them. But the other 3 bowl teams, hell, they're all 3 in the top 10. If this was next year, the Big Ten would have 6 of the top 10 right now.
Yep.
6 of the top 10. And that's the league Indiana is going to be playing. Everybody thinks, well, they're getting out of the Big Ten East. Well, great. Congratulations. Doesn't matter. You're not getting out of this. You're not getting out of this blender.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you right now, it's a big deal. Thank God they don't have to host Washington while Michael Penix is still there. Could you imagine that?
We got to come back, take a break, and we will do so. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
423,000 views on Mason's tweet.
Oh yeah, Hepner wanted to be there too. Someone says that's probably those are the only two coaches since Bill Mallory that probably actually wanted to be.
Oh,
in Indiana.
yeah, Terry Hepner. Yep, that's a good call. Good call on that.
Actually, it didn't. Someone says it started with a bad hire at the line coach. It actually started with hiring Nick Sheridan.
No,
that was the first mistake.
When Darren Hiller was already there.
Yeah, Hiller was already on the offensive line, but there wasn't issues at the time. I guess there were some.
That's because they had more talent.
Yeah,
that they
lost. He inherited a pretty good O line.
Yes, he did, because those guys went to some of those guys went to the NFL.
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, guys.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. Dreary day, but we needed the rain.
Boy, I'll tell you.
We needed the rain.
What's new with you?
Nothing. Media day Monday. Practice starts Tuesday.
Oh.
So it's here.
We're almost at that time of year. Some people call it the golden month of sports, where you have baseball playoffs, basketball at the beginning of the season, and then football already going on too.
Yeah, you get it all. Ryder Cup this weekend.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Except it's like 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning. That's watch the Reds blow it. They had a chance. But
dude, I don't. after they lost that 9-0 lead, I'm like, that's it.
Yeah,
it's over. I'm like, I don't. Who was it? The Minnesota Twins that came back on somebody that had like a 9-0 lead back in the 80s or the 90s. Kirby Puckett was playing.
That's like leading by 30, 35 at the half of a basketball game and getting beat.
All right, here we go, guys.
Got a tomahawk steak or a grouper filet and enjoy it cooked to perfection in Chop Shop Steakhouse. Chop Shop Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by Metalworks Brewing Company. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to High Top, coming to you from High Top, the 18th fairway here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Thursday. Glad that you're with us. As always, Dustin Schutte aboard, John the producer keeping us between the white lines, and our good buddy Chris Denari. Getting close, man. You're getting close to have to go back to work.
Yeah. Media day on Monday, first practice on Tuesday, and then 4 preseason games. We'll do 2 of them at home on Valley Sports. That'll be the 16th and the 20th. But
what's Tuesday?
What
did you say Tuesday was?
Tuesday's first day of practice. Yeah, first day of practice. Camp opens, and they'll have 3 or 4, 5 days of practice, and then they'll head down to Memphis and Houston for the first 2 games. So,
is practice open to media at all?
Little bit, but it's not much. I mean,
right.
They come in at the end, and they have access to some, but not a lot. I mean, it's open to us as team media, as broadcasters. We're able to go in and watch, and that's always been helpful. And that's really been the story from day one, whether it was Donnie Walsh or Larry Bird or now Kevin Pritchard, is, they allow us great access as team broadcasters, to be at practice. And that's always very, very helpful. But yeah, the media will be there. They may have a little more access to watch a little more practice than they do normally, but it's not a training where fans are there and, it's open. Because you really don't have a lot of time. I mean, think about it. Camp opens on Tuesday. That's October the 2nd. And you have a preseason game 6 days later on the 8th. So you got to get a lot done in a short period of time. Now, most of the players have been here the month of September. I was in on Monday, and it was great to see those guys doing a lot of conditioning, going up and down the floor. And that's a great opportunity for them to all get together before the real season starts next week.
We talked about, Chris, that in the past that the Pacers have to defensively. And if that doesn't happen, I'm concerned about what might happen against Milwaukee now that they have Damian Lillard. I am not a fan of him coming into the division. I think it's great for Milwaukee, a small market, to have two kind of superstar talents. But it's, to me, I don't know. I feel like Milwaukee was contendership to land Damian Lillard. Now that he is, Milwaukee's they've been a championship contender. Obviously, they won a championship, but it makes the division even tougher now.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, Dame's a great player, but I do think Milwaukee won't be as good defensively. I mean, Drew Holiday is one of the best defenders in the NBA. I think the one thing that we've talked about with the Pacers is this team's going to score. I think they'll be a really, really good team, top 10 team, maybe even better than that from an offensive standpoint. But they need to improve defensively from 28. You don't have to go to 15, but you got to be somewhere around 20. I think two things happen. I think Bruce Brown is a huge asset to this team because now he's a guy that can guard Damian Lillard. The Pacers didn't have anybody, a wing player that could do that. And a lot of times they'll cross match. I mean, Damian Lillard, the point guard for the Bucks, Tyrese Halliburton, point guard for the Pacers. That does not Ty will guard Damian. So I think now you'll see Bruce Brown. And I think the challenge has been made to somebody like Obi Toppin, who has, a big body that he's somebody that I'm not going to say you can't stop Giannis, but can you contain him a little bit more? And so I think those two players, will be keys to how this defense improves. I think Bruce Brown will definitely make this defense better. Obi Toppin maybe has not been known for his defense in New York, but again, he's a big, strong body that I think can accommodate the Pacers defensively when they're going up against bigger players like Giannis, LeBron type of guys.
Is that what they have looked for in the? We got an echo now. Sorry. Is that what they looked for in the try to help? Is primarily for the? I mean, obviously you're looking in terms of team and building chemistry and things like that. But have the Pacers had a special focus on improving defensively, trying to find more athletic guys that maybe can defend different positions on the floor?
Yeah, I think so, Dustin.
And he wanted to say like himself.
I think so.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's one of the things that they looked at. I also think they have probably toyed with schemes, and they'll do some things a little bit differently than maybe they did last year. Ronald Nora, the former assistant coach, moved on to Atlanta. He's now with Quinn Snyder. And the Pacers brought back Jim Boylan, who was an assistant coach to Frank Vogel many years ago, was an assistant to Fred Hoiberg in Chicago, and then was the head coach of the Bulls. And so he's now on the staff. And I think Carlisle used to assign, different coaches. Ron Nord coordinated the defense. Mike Weiner coordinated the offense. He's talked about going away from that model. All would work together on defense, on the offense, those types of things. So I think that'll be something for me, I think, to watch during training camp, how all of that fits. And maybe will be a question to Rick as the season moves along, that what kind of changes from a coaching staff perspective have they made to accommodate maybe the roster that they have?
To my third defensive player, when I was a freshman, I defended the state's top scorer, and I held him to 6 points. And I got to tell you guys, it was probably the best minute of defense I've ever played in my life.
Yeah,
I'm not saying I don't know that I would be a defensive stopper, but so you just talked about, Chris, what you're looking for in training camp. What's kind of the focus for this team in training camp and then through those preseason games? Are they focusing more on the defense? Is it just kind of getting back into the swing of competition, or is there going to be an area of focus for this team through the early portion of the season?
I definitely think it'll be defense. I mean, there's no question about that. is working on schemes. You know, I was told, last year they switched a lot, and that got them in trouble. At times, you switch, there's not communication, and all of a sudden a 3-point shooter's open. I mean, those are the things that will really kill you in this league. So I think there will be an attention to how that they want to defend on ball, on pick and roll, all of those things. It'll be interesting to see what adjustments maybe they make. I think from a conditioning standpoint, it used to be you came to training camp to get into condition. Now most of these guys are in condition when they come to training camp because it's pretty much a year-round thing. And like I said, when I was in the Ascension St. Vincent Center throughout the summer, there'd be anywhere from 5 to 8 guys doing individual work, doing conditioning work, working with assistant coaches. And again, all this month, I mean, here we are just left in the month of September, and most of these guys have been in Indianapolis for the last 2 or 3 weeks working out, conditioning, playing pickup, those types of things. So I don't think you have to spend as much time on conditioning as maybe you did years ago. You can go right into implementing those things that you want to do as a coaching staff to get ready for the season. Your book ready for that opening preseason game on October the 8th. But you probably have more of that than you would have many, many years ago. I mean, a number of years ago, they played 6 to 8 preseason games. Now you're only playing 4. I see a message from Caleb about watching Pacers games locally if you have a streaming service. I know we're on DirecTV Stream. We're on Fubo. The Pacer games right now are not on YouTube TV or Hulu. However, there is Sports Plus that you can get the app. You do have for that, and you can watch Pacers games. We are on.
How much is that?
I think it's $19.99 a month, and then there's a fee for the year. And for somebody like if you're a Pacers and a Reds fan, I mean, the Reds are on Bally Sports Ohio and Bally Sports Indiana. Right. So there are opportunities. I mean, nobody is shut out. And the biggest thing that somebody will say to me is, hey, you're not on YouTube TV. Why do I have to pay for it? Well, you've always had to pay for it. It's within your cable bill. And I know a number of people, a lot of people have maybe downsized or gone to YouTube TV or whatever, but there is still an opportunity to watch. It's not like you don't have the opportunity. It's your choice if you want to make that extra payment or not. The good news is from a cable standpoint, we're on AT&T Uverse, which is what I have. We're on DirecTV. We're on Comcast, Xfinity, Spectrum, MetroNet, all of those kinds of things. But if you have DirecTV Stream, it is a part of your bundle. If you have Fubo, they just added Bally Sports, the RSN. So yeah, there are opportunities to watch, and we hope you'll take advantage of that.
Also, not to promote the Pacers options here, but I did see yesterday, because they're probably going to take my money, where it's, I think, 6 games, 6 home games, a meet and greet with a player, and then a 6-month subscription to Bally Sports, which if you look, that was a really good deal. Like I said, I think it's 6 games, a meet and greet, and then a 6-month subscription for, I mean, it's not cheap. It was around 202 tickets to each game.
Right.
So if you and a buddy or whoever, so that's a cool way to get to some home games. I don't know. $100 for 5 games, to me, that subscription comes free.
Yeah. I mean, it's not for me to say how people should spend their money. I mean, again, I don't want to do that. But if you look at that and say, hey, you've got tickets to go to 5 games, and then I think they bonus you a game with the 6th, and we're going to throw in Bally Sports Plus so that you can watch all the Pacers games. And by the way, you get a chance to do a meet and greet, with the players during the year. And that's something that I will host. I do that after 5 games, and I saw the list. Your great opportunities are Miles Turner, Obi Toppin, Jarris Walker, Benedict Mathurin, and Tyrese Halliburton. And the great thing about that is when they do those meet and greets, I will be up there on stage with one of the players. We probably spend, 15, 20 minutes doing a Q&A, and then they take pictures with everybody. I mean, so you have a chance, your family, your kids, whatever, you get a chance with your phone to get a picture with one of those players. So I think the Pacers have done a really good job of doing that, because what it does, Dustin and Jim, is it gets you into the building to watch the game, which we want
Right.
people to experience that atmosphere. And then you've got, for somebody that has cable, maybe that Bally Sports Plus membership doesn't mean anything, or subscription, but then maybe you've got somebody else that you can give it to that has YouTube TV that
Right.
can't game. So I
That's
know,
what I have.
I know from a meeting yesterday, ticket sales are going really, really well. Sponsorships, people are really excited about this team. Kevin Pritchard and Chad Buchanan met with the media the other day and said, hey, we're not promising anything. We still feel like we have a lot of work to do. We have some steps that we need to take. But I think this team's going to be awfully fun to watch. Tyrese Halliburton's 23 years old. He's got one more year on this deal, and then he signed the extension for 5 years. So as they build around Tyrese Halliburton with the current core, and as they look to add to that, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, the next 5+ years.
Looking forward to that.
I completely agree.
Looking forward to that. And the start of the season, man. There's a lot of hope and it's like the Colts. This was supposed to be kind of a down year. Then you had all the stuff, still have all the stuff with Jonathan Taylor. The Moss is kind of making people forget about that. And then here they go to Baltimore and win. So it's kind of like the Pacers last year. Thought the Pacers all right, this is not going to be a good year. Just chill out and relax. And all of a sudden, guys came out and played their asses off. And man, it was like, wow. So it's like both of these teams are in the same position. They got new young people, but boy, are they both striving and surviving.
Oh, no question. And I think both organizations have great respect for one another and want to get back to like it was 10 years ago, when both teams were solidly in the playoffs, contending for conference championships, division championships. I think that's the cool thing. That's what we want in Indianapolis. We want excitement, and winning teams from August to January to February with the Colts, and from October into May, hopefully into Pacers. So you're right, Jim. I mean, the biggest thing is when there is hope, there's excitement. And I think what we've seen, the last couple of weeks, and you're right. I mean, here's Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. They're supposed to be an up-and-coming team in the AFC. And the Colts go in and steal that, without Anthony Richardson, without Jonathan Taylor, without Ryan Kelly, with all those injuries. So, I mean, I think it's a fun time to follow both of these teams, because I think they have a lot of youth. They have a lot of excitement. They're fun to watch. And ultimately, in the entertainment game, that's hugely important. Are you fun to watch? Are you fun to invest your time and your money with and in? And I think both of these teams have that.
Quick story before we let you go, because you brought up the meet and greet and Miles Turner, it reminded me of this, that when I was a senior in college, I auditioned for Area 55, which was Roy Hibbert's old section.
Oh, yeah.
So imagine a young Dustin just being a lunatic. I met him, and his forearm was the size of my torso. Like, these people are aliens. They are so huge. Like, you kind of sometimes look like they're tall, but like scrawny. No, these people are thick. It was just his forearm was, I can't even describe how large it was.
Yeah. I mean,
I tell people all the time, these pro players in any sport, it doesn't matter. I used to compete in team roping and pro rodeos, and the guy I looked up to was a 6-time world champion, Jake Barnes. And I remember him losing part of his thumb at the national finals rodeo once. And which is the common injury for a roper, but usually doesn't happen to headers a lot. It's usually on the back end. But anyway, he lost this part, that the entire second joint of his thumb. And I was like, oh man, that's gotta be rough. Until I noticed that his one joint is as big as my entire thumb. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. But these guys have big hands. Look at the receivers in the NFL, big hands. It's just, it matters, man. It matters to the things that they can do.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And then the work that they put in. I mean, you know, people always say, oh, they make a lot of money, and they do. I get that. I mean, they make a lot of money, but they also do a lot of things that the normal person wouldn't do. They wouldn't put in the time, the effort, the energy into something that you have to do every single day to be great. You know, especially from a physical standpoint. So, I just love being around them. I love it keeps me young. I'll tell you that. I mean, when you're 62 years old, I feel like I'm in great shape. But then I'm around Jarris Walker, who's a 19-year-old rookie. You tend to feel a little bit younger than you maybe did the day before.
Well, brother, we appreciate you as always and look forward to it. And it's about to get underway. We're gonna be at some games this year. We'll come up and heckle. We'll come up and heckle. Throw some popcorn at Chris and until his partner turns around and cracks it, baby. Thank you so much, brother. We appreciate you.
All right,
and, tend to the garden.
All right, sounds good.
Chris Denari from the Indiana Pacers. More coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Dustin, Schutte, and myself right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Would you quit?
I would probably do that ticket deal if it wasn't. I don't care about the meet and greet, though. I would rather have something else.
What are you talking about? Oh, what is it? When is it?
The Pacers are doing a mini season plan where it's five games that they lay out for you. You pick a sixth game, you get a meet and greet with a player, and then you get a 6-month subscription to Bally Sports. And the cheapest option is like $200, which is a really good deal because you get 2 tickets. So if you've got to split it, it's $100, and then you get the access. But I don't meeting a player doesn't move the needle for me, having worked in sports media for 10 years. Can I just get a couple hats? $100 to the gift store. $50 to the gift store.
To the gift store. To the gift store.
Gift
you got to
shop,
get down here. You got to get down here.
For what?
I don't know.
A party?
No, planning. I want to redo this studio. I don't want to be sitting right here. I want to be further away from the camera, for one thing. Thank you, Fred. I don't know I'm going to be getting well anytime soon. I'm about to go under the knife, I'm afraid. That thing is, my knee is swollen. And I'm like, feel it. And I'm like going, oh God, are they going to have to drain all that?
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
Nope, it do not.
It do not. Do. At all. At all. I do want that shirt, though.
All right, here we go, guys.
For all returning students, no matter where you go to school, at the Golf Club at Eagle Point, students can play for the rest of 2023 for just $299. That's right, play as many rounds as you like for just $299. That's better than a birdie. But you don't have to be a student to play at Eagle Point. Go online to set your tee time or call 812-824-4040. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville and Evansville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, everybody. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this soggy-looking Tuesday. Who knows what it's going to be like out there, but I hope it's great and shiny in your life, no matter where you are, what you're doing. Mike Woodson visiting Boogie Fland, trying to lock that down. They're in a battle with Kentucky, but Alabama not giving up because Nate Oates up there as well, visiting Boogie Fland. So, and Alabama just signed, if you missed it earlier, Aiden Sherrill, the number 22 player in the country. He's a big 6'10", averaging 19 a game with a little over 9 rebounds, playing at overtime elite. And that's the first commitment of the year for Alabama. Indiana yet to get that commitment, Dustin. And that's one of the things that they're waiting. They're hoping that Liam is that recruit that breaks the seal, and then things may follow after that. Looks like my hat's crooked. I can't stand that. But yeah, and everybody's like, well, when's he gonna bring? Like I said, next Monday we'll be talking to Rob Cassidy of Rivals National Recruiting Director, who has called Liam McNeely for Indiana, and he says that's not something that I normally do when they're still down to 2 players, meaning Indiana and Kentucky or Kansas, with Kansas being one of them. He goes, betting against Bill Self is dumb, and it is. But I agree with him that the established relationship that Indiana has worked so hard to establish, not just with Montverde, but with those individual players. They were recruiting him before he went to Montverde. And I think that getting Mackenzie Mbako was probably big for Liam, seeing that they get that type of guy, and they don't expect him to be here. And I'm sure that Mike Woodson has told him, say, hey, man, I don't expect Mackenzie to be here next year. We're going to need you in this spot. On the other side, Trent Sisley. I mean, can you imagine? It'd be a year later, but having Trent Sisley on one side and Liam McNeely on the other, and the recruiting is really getting there for Indiana. They have to land them. But they're in the finals with these guys, and they have to land at least 2 of these, I think, Dustin. Besides Liam McNeely, they've got to land either Derek Queen or Boogie Fland. Trying to think one of the other guards, but it just for optics and for recruiting prowess. It makes a difference. I
mean, I don't always agree with that, but
good. I love an opposing. I love an opposing position in the morning.
I think you're right to the extent of where Indiana wants to go, where they want to get to, how they want to be returned to like national prominence. I think it's important to land some of these guys, but I don't think it has to be make or break for your program, especially in today's world. We just saw FAU, San Diego State, get to the Final Four last year, and I mean, yeah, but I don't remember during the season. I don't know what the average star ranking for their recruits were or for their roster, anything like that. So it's just, do you want to land those guys? Obviously, like the better player, the better team you're going to have. At the same time, I'm more interested in the development of this. And just because you get I'm going to use this example. Look at Sky Clark last year at Illinois. Was he the top guard in the class? I don't know if he was. He was near the top. Didn't work out. Illinois got better when he left the program. And I don't know. I'm not saying that's on him, but sometimes it's not always a fit. So I don't probably put as much stock in recruiting as a lot of other individuals. Is it good that do they have to land some of these guys? Yeah, I mean, that's great. But just because a guy is good on paper and looks good at the high school level or some of these academies doesn't always mean he's going to fit into your program. So I think that's I'm always, I don't know if cautiously optimistic is the right word, apprehensive maybe. Just because you get a guy doesn't mean he's going to pan out. So I think there's two different sides there.
Well, and an important thing, just breaking for those of you listening, Boogie Fland has apparently, and I hate to announce it without confirming it, but I believe that he has canceled his visit to Maryland and is officially still down to the same three teams: Indiana, Kentucky, and Alabama. And Alabama's made a run, like I said, and they just landed that big guy. I don't know what their roster is like. I need to look at it. I didn't realize Alabama was so far up into the recruiting. They made a late run. And you got to give Nate Oates a ton of credit. He's getting out there and recruiting. Alabama basketball, they were crap 5 years ago. Because nobody cared, because Alabama football was rolling. Someone asked a question earlier that I don't want to skip, actually. It was a really good question about what is the difference between a good year in basketball financially and a bad year in football, which every year at Indiana is a bad year for one thing. They have a 52,000 seat stadium that they probably average 25,000 people in. Okay, so basketball is averaging 17.4 times what, 15?
Yeah, well, probably closer to 20.
Well, you got 10 Big Ten games and 10 non-con games. So I'd say 20. Yeah, I will say 20. So I just use my calculator.
There you
Real
go.
quick. I mean, you got 17.4. Shoot, I did 17 points. Somebody's going to do it faster just because they want to. What did I say, times 20? That's 348,000 people. All right. And all those people are buying merchandise, buying Cokes and this and that. And then if you have, how many home games they end up with this year? Did they end up with 6 or 5 because of the Louisville game?
That's a good, I don't know. Do you know, John, off the top of your head?
6. Yeah, they played 6.
Okay.
Or
So I'm going to take 25,000, and that's times 6 equals.
By the way, is 25,000? Are you lowballing that? Because that just sounds egregious. I mean, that could be the truth, but is it really? Are they really averaging 25,000 at home games?
I'm looking to see if, because usually they have
All right,
attendance.
I'll give them 30,000. How's that? 35,000 rather. 35,000.
Hold on.
Times.
I can give you an actual number here.
210,000 people.
Nope. All right, so Indiana, you want the number? This was 2022, the average number. You ready for this? What is your guess? Is it in the 30s?
Say it again.
This was the 2000 average for attendance for Indiana. Now,
what year?
Last year, 2022. Okay. Do you need to repeat it the 9th time?
Well, you've got a lag going on.
Oh, okay. 46,906.
Wow, that's surprising.
That's horse crap.
You have to remember,
that's paid, but I guess that's paid.
Teams.
And then the 5-year average is 43,223. So they are selling tickets.
Well, you know why? Because if you don't buy football, you don't get basketball. So guess what? It's a nice little hand.
Is that real?
So yeah.
Smart decision on Indiana's part.
Now take 52,000 and multiply that by 6 or 7 and see what you get. And it's not just that. then add the suites that they don't have, that everybody else has, and add that in there.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know why. Well, I do know why. Why Indiana has not redone their press box.
Money. They don't want to spend the money. They want to spend it elsewhere.
They've done other things at the stadium to revamp it.
It does look better, but they close the ends in, but it's not made for fans really. That one end is kind of like it's like a little deck, but I'll take the Louisville Stadium, for example. They have a deck like that, but it is above a section of seats, an entire section of field seats. And the other end is also seats. The Indiana's other end there's a few seats, but those are out in front of those offices. It's not meant for what you see at most stadiums, but that's neither here nor there. I'd love to see them succeed. Trust me. I'd love to see Tom Allen succeed. I'd love to see the team succeed. The players are great. I think they have talent. I wish they had more fan support. I understand how fans get disappointed.
Indiana doesn't even have the lowest attendance in the Big Ten.
Well, you've got either Rutgers or the Northwest,
Maryland, Illinois, and Minnesota, all below Indiana. Surprising one is Rutgers is actually higher than Indiana.
For this year?
This was last year, 2022.
But again, do you know why? I believe Indiana's is coupled with basketball tickets.
Okay, so people are still buying them.
Well, they have to.
Okay.
If you want basketball, I don't think that's for everyone. You can buy football only. Don't get me wrong, but I believe it is a big tie-in point wise.
I don't disagree. I'm not arguing the point. It's just when you look at this statistically, I would have guessed Indiana would have been down with Northwestern, but Maryland are all below. I can't imagine. I would figure that some of those schools have a similar issue. Maryland probably does with basketball. Illinois probably has something with basketball. Those are
but Illinois had success in football before, man. But they suck. The thing is, they sucked this year, and they were good last year. Hell, they went to a bowl game. They won 8 straight after losing to Louisville. I mean,
they had a chance. They had a chance to get to the Big Ten championship game last year.
Yeah, you don't have to buy football tickets to get basketball tickets, but it adds your points up, and you need those points. It's a way to get those points, which I think you could probably get them also by making large donations. So there's that. There's always
interesting. I could spend all day on this thing just looking at who is in what spot in terms of average attendance, which I know it's not actually attendance. It's not coming through the gate. It's who bought tickets, but nonetheless.
But again, Boogie Fland canceling his visit to Maryland. That just breaking here, and definitely focused on 3 schools: Alabama, Kentucky, and the Hoosiers. Alabama making a late run because it was Indiana and Kentucky solidly a week ago. And Nate Oates has made a run there, man. And it's going to be surprising to see if he sneaks in and beats Indiana and Kentucky. That's going to be a gigantic couple of feathers in his cap. And he just landed the big guy, 6'10", Aiden Sherrill, the 22nd rated player in the country from Elite Overtime to go with that. So it's going to be something that we'll be following. And of course, tomorrow we'll be back up with it. Big lineup tomorrow, as always. Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.substack.com will be along. Of course, we'll also have Mr. Miller, right? John Boy?
Yes.
I'm
Travis
losing
Miller
my voice all
from
of a
Boiler
sudden.
Upload, and Zach Osterman, and may or may not have Jeffrey the Greek. He's always a weekly what if, depending on his availability, but he joins if he can. So we may have Jeffrey the Greek as well.
And we may have Corey from Boiler Upload as well, covering the basketball. Well, my voice is evaporating here at the end. I'm glad it's at the end. I don't know what happened, but it's been fun. As always, I can't thank you guys enough. You are the reason that we get to be here, and we are grateful beyond belief. Big thanks to Dustin, of course. Dustin Schutte, make sure you're giving him a follow. Matt Taylor from the Colts, and Chris Denari of the Indiana Pacers. John, the producer, for keeping us between the white lines. But again, most importantly, you guys, without you, we have no reason to be here. Thank you so much. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.